Lift your hands, say, Lord, I receive. Lord, I receive. Your word is true. In Jesus' mighty name. 3 groups of people. Because next Wednesday we are starting an anointing lesson. We can only do it in 1.5 weeks because we are running out of time. Sit down, please. Pastor Benny Hinn, who is coming to us in less than 7 weeks. He's a man after a long time. I met him in 1983. I was having a revival for 7 days in Phoenix, Arizona, at Valley Cathedral, when I went by faith in 1983. So he had been scheduled to preach on a Friday. And so I preached Sunday up to Thursday. He came on Friday night. Then I resumed Saturday, Sunday for another week. That was the first time. He sat in behind of a Honda Accord. He was a young man. And he came, preached and left. The second time I was seeing him on TV. On TBN. Then I went to his crusade because I was preaching in Sacramento, in California. And they said, oh, Benny Hinn is having a crusade. So I said, okay, let me go see his crusade. Seated up on the balcony like that. It was about 20,000 people. And the voice of the Lord spoke to me. We didn't have a TV. They had kicked us off the TV. And the Lord said, why don't you take his program to Uganda? Lighthouse Television had not started. LTV. There was only one TV in Uganda, UTV. Later on it became UBC. There was also a cable sat. A gentleman had started what they call a cable sat. It was on a shorter tower at Kololo. And the man availed the airtime. But it was $500 a week. So I paid him $500 for a week for a long time, 2 years. To put on not my program because I didn't have cameras. They had kicked me from UBC, UTC, whatever it is. And so we didn't have cameras. I had one camera which was doing crusades. I bought it in the UK. But you needed a mixer to edit the programs. And we used to use UBC equipment, UTV. I said, God, what does it take to have our own TV? The government of Uganda at that time had not liberalized the media. So I used to go on Radio Uganda. And there was a brother in the Lord. And he could put me on his program called Innovation. That program used to come every Tuesday on Radio Uganda. And I could preach there through the program of Innovation. That's how we didn't have the freedom of media. But the Lord spoke to me clearly. And that was the time before. Actually, after T.L. Osborne had come in the crusade. And so that's where I met, during the crusade, I think that was the time I met Pastor Gary Skinner. He had come to Uganda to start KPC. And the local number was very few. abalokola omuwendo gwali mutono ddala. You remember that was the time of war. Jukira kali akaseera ak'olutalo. And so we used to meet at Little Flower. How many of you remember the Little Flower restaurant? Me and Pastor Gary Skinner. We used to meet every Tuesday to pray for Uganda. Every Tuesday for 2 years. 2 years. Uganda was going through tough time. That was when God sent Pastor Gary. Pastor Gary is such a great gift of God to this country. So we prayed. When there was what we're taught now is a Norman cinema. It was not a church. They used to meet at the Imperial. We used to have a lunch hour on Rome Street. And we had a fellowship at Kabusu there. But I remember the Lord told me specifically, he said, put Benny Hinn on Uganda Airwaves. So I paid $500 every week to put his program. So he sent us 2 containers of his TV programs. His early programs, as you remember, we have all the pneumatic tapes, 2 containers. I just wrote in an envelope because I couldn't meet him. There was no way he had forgotten me. So in the offering, I said, I have no money, but I want to put your program in Uganda. If you can send me the tapes, this is my address. Put it in the envelope. Years later, they contacted me. And no, actually months. About 3 months. They contacted me. They started sending the tapes. We put it on, and that was it. So 2 years later, they liberalized the media. And I got a letter. I got a letter from Paul Crouch. Actually, I went through T.L. Osborne. I met Paul Crouch. And I said, we need TBN in Uganda. So he gave me a letter. I brought it. He gave it to Brother Kiria to take it to the cabinet. Before actually they liberalized the media. So they had to go to the cabinet. They were debating whether they should, whether they what, all kinds of whatever they went through. God, you are so faithful. God, you are so faithful. So then 2 brothers from Uganda went to Grenada. It happened when Magnuson, the gentleman, died. The Lord, they were in Grenada and they were working with TBN. And Brother Mutabazi, Engineer Mutabazi, was an engineer there in Grenada. So they talked about coming to Uganda. They had received a letter from here. So he came. They sent away Pastor Kayanja. So we ended up, Mutabazi knew Katuramu, Chris, and then they came to the church. They were members of the church. That's how LTV started. I'm giving you all this history. And that time we didn't have channel 44. No, we didn't. So we were broadcasting through like television.
LTV.
And Pastor Bob Nichols. And it was a great connection to have TBN here. And TBN did a lot because it exposed Uganda to the gospel of great men of God. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known TBN, TDJ, Joyce Meyer, and others. But because of LTV and Calvary Cathedral in Dallas and TBN, then Benny Hinn comes.
Omusumba Benihini najje Uganda.
Enambole
mu kisaawe.
It was a great service. Great move of God.
Kutambula kwa Katonda kwali kwa amaanyi.
And then
oluvannyuma.
After that,
oluvannyuma lw'ekyo.
Then we had then he came back 2 years later for a fire conference here.
Waite emyaka ebiri najja no mu fire conference ku Miracle Center.
And that's when he prophesied about Channel 44.
We yalagulira ku TV ya Channel 44.
And 77 days of glory.
N'ennaku 77 ez'ekitiibwa.
So, people of God,
abantu ba Katonda,
vessels
ebibya
carry the anointing.
Byetika amafuta.
And there are times
oluusi
the vessels will be out of oil.
Ebibya biggwamu amafuta.
I mean, in the natural, you look at the vessel and you think it's empty. That's where we miss it. But I've seen something about oil. When you empty the vessel, you remember the woman widow? The man of God said, bring empty vessels. The bottle of oil was smaller than the vessels. But that little bottle filled so many empty vessels. That's something you need to learn about the anointing. That you may think the anointing is too small, and when you pour, you think it's ending. The oil only stops when there is no empty vessels. The anointing of Elijah did not stop. The vessels were stopped. There were no more vessels. Serious. The anointing of Solomon was still available. But when the Shebas stopped coming, that's when problem occurred. Child of God, when you are empty, God will use the already anointed vessel to fill other. That's why I'm on this platform. We received all the anointings. Creflo Dollar has been here. Joyce Meyer has been here. Benny Hinn has been here. And Osborne, and I mean others have been here. Many. Marilyn Hick.